All right, footy fans, riddle me this. Why is it every time, almost every single time, the game is on a knife edge and Collingwood somehow just seem to find a way to win? Seriously, it's becoming some kind of superpower. Other clubs seem to get the wobbles, and the team that is affectionately dubbed the Collingwood Wobbles just seem to get better. Let's talk facts. This isn't about vibes. Since McRae took the reins up at Magpies, Collingwood have played 39 games that have been decided by less than a goal. And how many do you think they won? 29. Lost 8, drawn 2. That's 74% win rate. When margins are tighter than your uncle's jeans after Christmas dinner. To put it bluntly, if you're in a nail-biter with the Pies, odds are you're going to go home in tears and you're going to see a video when you get home of Eddie Maguire going mental. It's not just luck. It's becoming a pattern. Is it system? And it seems to be a massive shift from Nathan Buckley. But does he play a part in this DNA of tight games? Let's wind back the clock. Let's deep dive into how the Magpies keep doing this. The first thing we've got to look about is the Buckley Blueprint that preceded this. Order, discipline, and being very rigid. Before the last quarter heroics, before these miracle goals, Collingwood had an incredibly different identity under their legend and famous hero, Nathan Buckley. Let's call it what it was. It was proper old school footy. Defence first, structure first, and a side more disciplined than a prep school. You struggle to find a hair out of place in this old team, never mind a stray half forward. Every player had a role and every blade of grass was mapped out in meticulous fashion. The record reflects it. Buckley coached the Pies for 218 games, 117 wins, 2 draws, and 99 losses. But when the heat was on, that's where the wheels kind of fell off. They played 29 games, less than 6 points, only winning 11, having a 38 success rate. Think about it. Them tight games with just that win rate, why was that? The big complaint, if you ask any Collingwood fan about Bucks, is they respected his standards and discipline, but it was too rigid. It wasn't versatile. It was probably, some people say, one of the stronger lists Collingwood had. They were famous for squeezing the life out of it defensively, but had no attacking flair. And when the game was on their terms, they didn't put massive scores on. The phrase modern game gets thrown around in AFL way too much, but if there is such thing as a modern game, it's kicking goals in clusters. You've only got to remember things like the 2018 Grand Final, that last quarter pain. They were by far the better side, but they seemed to stick to script that didn't allow them to absolutely kill a side. It was a side built on order, system, and pressure. And in today's game, controlled chaos is the method. You've got to really embrace it. So what changed when McRae came? Well, enter Craig McRae, the bloke who rocks up with a grin, cracks a joke, loves to talk in analogies, and he turns Collingwood into AFL's answer almost of Ocean's 11. Daring, full of plot twists, fresh face around the corner, and really excited to do this grimy work. The transformation on and off field in 2022 to now has been nothing short of off the charts. They took a chainsaw to the old playlist. They made some big calls. Brodie Grundy leaving. They doubled down on building teams rather than star-studded lineups. In-claim players like Bobby Hill, Lockie Schultz, Tom Mitchell. Unpredictable, dynamic players, but also guys that will work hard, almost nick your wallet and steal premiership hopes in one quarter. Really hard workers. They didn't stop there. They targeted physical role players. Dan McStay, Harry McPerriman and Tim Membry this year. They added the touch of class to allow themselves to do positional changes with Dan Houston. They kept a mind on their NGAs, looking like that future trade is genius with Tom McGuan and Saxena, Zach McCarthy and co coming through this draft. And there's a conveyor belt of hungry kids that they have kept hungry in the VFL, such as Ed Allen and co, who have burst out and been really strong since finally making their senior debut and look set to stay. It's not for headlines they build their list, it's for moments, and that is a key in list build. They haven't gone out there and tried to buy glamorous stars. They've gone out there and focused on needs that fit the DNA of this new Collingwood side. It wasn't just your standard shopping spree. It was list management with a clear McRae twist, a focus on what their coach wants and how he's going to reset the agenda from the Collingwood side being a drab watch to an exciting watch. And that's the key thing with McRae. Everyone has a role and a role that they understand. It's almost like Mary Poppins type thing. Everything has a place, and in that is its role. You're trusted to play with instinct. There's a bit of X factor. There's freedom when the game needs to go. There's a lot of chaos, but there's a hell of a lot of belief. And that is the secret sauce. What's different now, if you ask any pie, they'll tell you it is that belief. McRae preaches it. Be champions in your mindset, not just on the scoreboard. It's not just about running patterns and shutting down space. It's about knowing, and I mean genuinely knowing, you're going to win when it gets tight. McRae don't go in their shells in close ones. If anything, they look like they're enjoying it. There's kind of a weird sickness to it. They go out hunting. That mental shift backed by the players who play their roles and the freedom of their stars to enjoy it has turned them into a very dangerous finisher. Probably AFL's most. When everyone else tenses up, Collingwood seems to get loose and they find a way to go for your throat. And now comes that moment where there is this perceived pressure that the Pies give. If you don't put them away, you see teams actively tense up, actively be physically worried. You can see it in their set shots and their ball movement. And this is a club now that relishes the mayhem, rides the wave, and more often than not, finds a way to come out on top. And when they don't, they behave like they've won. That is a very key ingredient, I think, to McRae, of walking like a champion, talking like a champion, to allowing you to be a champion. Now, how do they actually do it? Well, when it's squeaky bum time, Collingwood are almost AFL's answer to Houdini. First off, the results speak for themselves. Under McRae, the Pies have become the great escape artists, whether it's in finals, prelims, round 15 on a cold, wet night. Collingwood just seem to rack up wins. There is so many to think of in the time, and it's more than just luck. It's more than just magic. It's becoming a habit. When we look at their tactical flexibility and game awareness, McRae's coaching staff don't hand out instructions per se. It's more of an understanding. Everyone on that Pies field knows what the game needs and their part in that role. It's not just what the coach wants. It means it's clutch. These players aren't robots. They're thinkers, and they're encouraged to be expressive. They know when to slow it down. They know when to take the game on. And they know it's not about just whack it on the boot and hope for the best. They have literally got a bona fide plan. The third quarter as well is a big part of here. They aren't just last quarter heroes. They look really strong in and around that third quarter. This is genuinely when they flip the game on the head. They are a real strong side in here. They're almost like Red Bulls with the red flag in their sight. And they come out there with that rocket up their backside. A lot of games you watch in these type games, it's the third quarter where they've either decided to ascertain some control or run over the top of you. And it's that resilience and that composure under pressure, getting the ball in the hands of the players that you want it. This is the bit that gets me when you watch Collingwood versus teams like Carlton who struggle in the second half. When a game is tight, they're actively finding players like Josh Dacos, Steele Sidebottom, Pendlebury. They're looking it to find and execute the game plan with the guys they trust. They don't panic. They keep their heads up while everyone else is losing theirs. And you see it over and over again. Under the pump, outnumbered, backs against the walls, bang. They find a way to peg you back. And this is a real strong mindset shift, but also a real strong belief. You can also mention the home ground advantage. We all know the jokes. Thomas has played more games at different grounds than Pendlebury, and he's played less than 50 games. Pendlebury's played 400 nearly. But let's be honest, they don't just rely on it. Whether it's at the G, Marvel, that Magpie army lifts them. It's intimidating. The way they go about their base, the work is intimidating. This is a very well-oiled machine. You've only got to go back to round 0 versus GWS where they got absolutely peppered. There was no panic from the Pies. This was all part of the plan. And whether that's distraction, maybe it is, but they bloody hell believe it. And there's that old quote, isn't there? You tell a lie long enough and loud enough, eventually people will march to that beat. And focus on attacking and entertaining football. Under McRae, gone are the sideways, slow, risk-free footy. They move the football. They take the game on. They put teams under pressure. They're a team that adapts. When their stoppage is bad, in the next couple of weeks, they'll break even. And this is something down to McRae's coaching. He's talked about they practice very rigidly these situation moments. It's easy to brush it off as luck. It's easy to brush it off as talent. But there is a big part of this Collingwood DNA that's gritty and working class. And that is all in their messaging. They're proud of their working class roots. And they play like a working class team, as well as a team that can make $1 million self-made. And player development. Let's look at the list that they've brought in. Hill, Schultz, Perryman, McStay, Houston, Membry. Guys brought in for moments, not headlines like we say. And then you look at the kids that start to make up in this team. Ed Allen, you look at the development of Josh Dacos and his halfback role. You look at the seamless transition from Nick Dacos to halfback to midfield. Then you look at players like Bo McQuarrie that started out as a pressure forward, but they have worked their hours and now are handy midfielders that bring a lot of pressure. They have really developed a lot of diamonds in this rough. So when it's on the line, the Pies have the tools, the coaching, the belief, and the fan base, and that cold-blooded ability to get the job done. If you're another club and you're looking at how do these guys come in so clutch, you probably worked it out. It's just ironed-on belief and ironed-on system. Is Collingwood, though, not paying Buckley the credence? I feel if you want to know why they win 10 games, their swagger, their old-school steel, I think Nathan Buckley is a big part of this. And what I mean by that, he drilled them within an inch of their lives. Structured, defence first. Every player knew their role. Every inch of ground, like we said, was mapped off. And every potential outcome was chosen. They coached and played in a way to try and negate you from your strengths. The foundation, for me, made them a perennial contender. The problem was they didn't have that to get over the line. When McRae came in, he got given a blueprint by Buckley that didn't need rebuilding or ripping up. It just needed adding to. And that DNA, that old school standard stayed, but layered with freedom and creativity. It was old school football done in a modern day way. And now these players have the permission to trust their instincts, back themselves in, be free, be the way they are. That blend for me is the secret sauce. Collingwood still defend very well as a team. And when it going gets tough, they do look sometimes like Buckley's Pies. They don't look stressed. They don't look worried. They know what they're doing. It's the moment of magic and je ne sais quoi that McRae gave these boys with belief. And there you have it. It's the science, the psychology, the dash of Collingwood's chaos that has turned them into heart attack merchants, but incredibly good ones. For the foundations of Buckley that were rigid and almost archaic to the McRae's free-flowing, exciting and enjoyment. It's a recipe that's made black and white footy at the minute the best in the country, an absolute box office. And if you're one of them people that says, oh, it's just luck, it's a fluke, innit? Here's the truth. Lightning doesn't strike 74% in the same place. You don't keep winning close ones unless you're doing something special or if you're good. So the next time they're in close, just remember, they're going to break your heart and it's probably going to be yours. The best way to beat these sides is fight fire with fire. If you enjoyed this, smash the like button, give us a sub, drop your favourite. We love going into the comment section, but we also enjoy just talking about the footy. Make sure you hit that like button, subscribe. I'll see you next time for more footy chaos. Till next time, I'm out.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless.